their daughters have been married so many times to the same man. In the spirit of bonus footage.
Oh, yeah.
Welcome to the bonus party, y'all.
This is the bonus party. Melrose Maniacs. Thank you for coming over to the spoiler side with us. Lisa is still Lisa and still just wonderful.
Thank you. And Wayne is also equally wonderful.
And we're fortunate.
Exactly.
We're fortunate to have in our lives our producers Ilana and Chris. This is the deep dive into the 1990s late night adult soap Melrose Place. Did I say late 90s? It's just 90s.
Yeah.
And this is for those of you who are ahead on your reading, or those of you who just like spoilers. What's the problem? What BFD guys? If that's you. Come along for the ride. We are bouncing off now season 1, episode 4 of Melrose Place. This is For Love or Money. And we just saw some long-term implications, and we ended the main podcast, which if you haven't listened to, we enjoyed it. We enjoyed doing it. I can tell you that much for sure. But Alison we ended with a lot of Alison. We should start with Alison and work. We were saying that this is the show getting on track in a way, and there's scheming happening, there's D&D machinations. What are some of the things to say about we see some firsts here? For instance, Alison, first time quitting D&D, but not the last.
Oh my gosh, it's only episode 4. She's already stormed off with her first quitting. I think this might have been the time where I stopped myself from accidentally spoiling, because I was just remembering that, like, she loves packing up and exiting a situation without letting other parties realize that things have ended.
Hey, also,
wild.
Opposite of spoiler, but like, motherfucker, you bitched about Natalie.
Oh my God.
Failing on your ass. And you are the same motherfucker.
She's a Bailey
who
person.
Like just says to your boss, maybe there won't be next time. And like, you know, just that's Alison. That's how she
got the quitting wiggles.
She's just wiggling her body down to her desk to fucking leave. Like, you are the thing you despise, Alison.
She really is. It's
so, and you boomeranging is the thing though. That's the other thing is like. An exit for Alison. I'm just gonna say this. I want you've got a great line. More on this. It's her way of humiliating herself.
Just constantly, because I cannot. The quickness with which she had to pack her stuff back up and realize she had to go back. I mean, Michael is breathing down Jake's neck at the beginning of this episode, reminding everyone that, hey, at some point rent is due, and Alison never has a backup plan.
No, it's like someone who's on a high wire but doesn't understand the ramifications.
No, not at all.
And frankly, eventually, substances become like it's
boyfriends. Substances.
The analogy holds in terms of she gets shaking on that tightrope. We will see this season. She fucks off to Seattle for not long with Keith, the stalker.
The stalker, and then, I mean, that was very specifically what I was thinking about.
That's what I thought. This is spoilers, baby.
The dumping of Keith, she goes to the airport at LAX to go back, then just doesn't get on the plane. And I remember thinking to myself...
And says nothing to them.
Says nothing. But that's totally how she quit. When she said, I'm not coming back, I'm like, girl, what do you... Yeah. Oh, so indecisive.
Well, I mean, it is. I mean, by the way, as someone who frankly has some of the same tendencies, like, there's some theory of Alison that we're going to get to where there is that, like, give me a chance for sanctimony.
Yes.
But there is also, which I identify with in uncomfortable ways, that, like, you get the win by not confronting. She's a ghoster. She's the original. Now yes. They have a word for it.
You're absolutely right.
Let's talk about Alison as the ghoster.
I mean, the way she ghosted that man in Seattle was just because what I'm trying to, because the thing is, there were no cell phones. There was no jumping on a phone. He drove to the airport. The way he found out was only when she didn't get off the plane.
How long do you sit and wait? What thoughts go through your mind?
But it's just so fun to know that, to me, that's just fun to know where she ends up.
Yeah.
Another time, this is super random.
No.
And
I want it.
But another really fun time where Alison just blew off work. Do you remember when she got in a Ferrari and they just rented a Ferrari? I think it was her and this guy she randomly was all of a sudden dating.
Oh,
they rented crazy
into drugs.
Yes, they rent an expensive sports car and just go. This woman keeps getting her job back. She couldn't lose her job to save her life.
Yeah, it is. It's hellish in a way.
Kept sending her a paycheck.
It's kind of a hellish existence, right? Like she's a Sisyphus, Sisyphusian.
Yes, she's Sisyphusian, but yeah, she I do think, real talk.
Yeah,
we're seeing her actually get into presenting, and we're gonna see her get off that receptionist desk and then move up into the world, and I think that's where it really gets fun, because then you've got, you know, the boss, and then we actually have her doing something instead of just being harassed at her desk as a receptionist.
She's a player.
I forgot.
She's a player.
The way she
declares herself to
desk.
be.
And by the way, that vest.
The vest was out of place with the.
That was a player's vest. It was
When
player's.
they have on postcards.
It was a vest. A woman.
You said this.
Yeah, she looked like a sister wife. She had a little light blue denim button-down shirt. She's got that little, you know, spiral of bangs framing her head, and then a vest that is fully all the buttons buttoned up. Arms, postcards printed on it, and then says, "I'm a player now."
Yeah,
that was amazing.
It's leaning on a desk, beautiful. The recipient of said sanctimony, Rick, I have posited as a proto-Craig. We kind of got into this. There's some breadcrumbs in Yon, spoiler-free episode, which you should check out. I should stop doing that. No, whatever. Like, it's engagement, baby. So yeah, the business son, the fail son,
the business dad, impressing business dad,
the Oedipal thing, but like, I don't know.
The grooming the women so that you can marry them and take their money or idea. It's so
parasites. Men are parasites.
It's so funny because I do feel, this show is wildly problematic, but it is really interesting how, the women are really more the ones who are good at their jobs in this world, 9 times out of 10.
They're the breadwinners. They're the source of fortune in general. And the men are all goddamn charlatans. Okay.
Yes.
And I'm sorry, but I'm laughing thinking about it. So I'm going to grab the steering wheel and I'm going to pilot this conversation towards where it ends up. Amanda's last gasp at this is a man named Rory, if you remember.
Wait, which one was Rory?
He was just like a creep from the racetrack.
Wait.
Guys, I'm afraid I'm going to fall apart in this moment. Everything I'm saying.
No, but it happens.
Happened.
It really does get
to that
3
episodes in season 7.
You're absolutely right. This doesn't make any sense.
He baits Amanda with claiming he's an owner of a horse. But he does, and I'm not going to get into the whole story, but I know what a guy from the off-track betting or even the on-track betting looks like, and that's what Rory presents as. His artifice is paper thin, but Amanda's in such a bad place, and there's so much talk about that. But like, just that is like that is the turd, like really getting down the pipe with that one.
Wait, I have to remember correctly. Is Rory the fool who took her out to an island?
You're getting it?
In the middle of nowhere.
This was part of the Dominican excursion. Yeah. The second one, I think.
Maybe third. That's where she got all her divorces.
She
divorced Dominican style being even the name of the episode.
That was such a wonderful time because first of all, I did it. They act like, oh, everybody knows that you popped down to DR for your divorce. I'm like, is this a thing? Are people just going to the Dominican Republic to get divorced all the time?
I feel like that was some sort of weird contrivance of the writers, or possibly like knowing someone, or just okay. I'm gonna state it wrong, and it's possible that this is even like comes from a racist place. I'll repeat it, and maybe we'll bleep it out if we think it's a terrible thing. But like, is that there's like some sort of stupid, like, when I say meme, I don't mean the thing that we do now, but I mean just like this concept and the collective unconsciousness more so. Fuck, I did that thing again.
I was gonna say the thing you did was we indulged in something prior to filming this, and maybe it our
We gotta
mind
cut that out,
openness.
man.
No. Listen,
Yeah.
here's the thing. Right before we go, can you just roast Rory one more time? Because I mean,
Okay.
this man.
Let's
I
name.
forgot how
he-
low
he-
she fell.
Well, okay, that's what I want. So I'm back on track. Like, I think,
Yes.
guys, it's the bonus content, baby.
Hit me with that, Rory.
It's gonna be a cat. I'm gonna make it a thing, guys. It's gonna be a catchphrase. No, we all know that the viewer has a complicated relationship with the Amanda that we meet and we come to love and learn strange things about. But she.
I'm sorry. The way, like, first of all, that set was so janky. They're just on
Oh
a
yeah,
strip
it's
of
just
beach,
it's
and
crappy.
At every turn, I'm like, this man's gonna kill her.
She's
Like,
self-destructive. This was the point. I was taking a long way to get to. You're watching her actively be like, oh, look at all these red flags. That's what I should go toward. I mean, I just left a guy who tries to kill me, and that seemed like a good thing weirdly between us. So now I'm broken. I don't remember the specifics of what got her to Rory, but it was like end stage self-esteem, blue screen of death.
Yes, I think
She's
she
divorcing
fell.
Kyle this time, right?
I think she was divorcing Kyle.
Jesus, it was after
Marrying
This is deep,
Rory.
guys.
Also, the moment that the
It was
thing-
like you're smarter than this, Amanda.
that's the
You
problem.
are
is
you
that-
are going toward you're going toward the thing that will destroy you, and I think you know it.
Yes.
It's a weird way to feel about Amanda. That's what I was trying to get to with all the babbling.
Well,
Sorry.
they make her very smart. So when you watch her do this, I have to say that when you brought up Rory, and I remember what was happening, the moment that sticks in my mind the most
Please.
is when they get off the little boat and
Mhm.
she sees where they're supposed to sleep, and she goes, "Excuse me, what?" And like
It's
when she didn't get
outdoors,
back
as I
on that,
recall.
when she didn't get on the boat
And fuck
back,
off.
I was
Yeah.
like, "Girl, I don't know who you
this
are
is where
anymore."
this is where you want to die by
Yes.
your actions.
But I have a theory that it's the same stretch of beach every time that they go
Oh, yeah, I
fly
know.
off to somewhere to get a divorce.
Yeah.
I actually think it's the same location where eventually she and Peter reconnect.
I think you're right. It was a cruise.
But Rory,
yes,
oh my God,
yes.
what a dark time.
Well, and that was a gross echo of how she fell for Kyle
yes,
when they were both divorcing Dominican style.
yes. Oh my
So anyways,
That might have even been the title of the episode, "Divorce Dominican Style." I think it might have been, actually.
it was. Yeah, we're having fun. I hope you guys are as we talk about this. So yeah, business sons. How about Jake and work? How about Jake? Here we talked about in the episode how his hostility gets him as much as in his level of reality, the key to the kingdom. He's hard up for money, and someone offers him a job working on bikes, which obviously he loves to do in the way of people.
Yes, yes.
But it struck me that this is now getting to the entrepreneurial phase of Jake's life.
I agree with you. I think you are totally right, because Jake and Alison, we know what they're going to be doing now every day. Because prior to that, like, I don't know what Jake's job is. Like, I don't even know how he paid his rent up until this episode.
Construction's dry, so he was a construction worker. I think that relates to the 90210 thing, which I don't want to talk too much about because I kind of don't care. Is that bad to say?
No,
Am I alienating people with that?
I just want to say that in 1992 in Los Angeles, I imagine construction was the exact opposite. So I just think
They
that's
were-
hilarious.
Making all the strip malls.
I don't know if you've heard of a term called urban sprawl, but I feel like 1992 would have been exactly probably when things started to get on the rise. So, like, it's,
Well-
I just enjoy that it is completely wrong.
Yeah. When was the earthquake?
94.
Okay.
Oh, then there would have been
That
even
one
more
played-
construction work.
But that's still to come. If the makers of the Melrose Place at this point knew about the Northridge earthquake,
Hey, spoiler alert.
but
yeah, Jacob Jobs.
Anything else on Notch? He up to now he's this aimless man. He's an
yes.
aimless man, and he finds this. He's an artist as a mechanic. He's told us as much. He's now getting to work doing something he loves, which like ought to be his nirvana. But we know that the place will shut down. He's the failed business renovator too, right?
He is Captain Save-A-Ho because he does not love anything more other than to quote unquote rescue a woman or a business in danger of failing.
Captain Melrose to the rescue.
Then will proceed to be shocked when the exact same result happens to him. He does this with women. He does this with businesses. He's always like, I'll see your red flag and I'm going to pretend it's a green light means go.
Hellish as well, if you think about it, to just be trapped in that cycle.
Oh, just constant. But yeah,
I bet there's some long-term reading to be like, and it was domestic life that broke the cycle. Don't you see?
Hey,
Unless that was also hellish. We never see him again after he fucks off to SLO.
Oh, hi.
Oh hi. Oh hi.
Oh hi.
No, but I do love, I mean, listen, I'm very excited where this motorcycle business goes. We all know where it ends up. And
Explosive.
I love Jake with the
It's-
business.
that's hotter than a bird.
You're not wrong.
I don't know if is this a thing. Rhonda's flightiness.
Yes.
Unfortunately we know they don't know what to do with Rhonda,
No, they
and
don't.
she's not long for the show. So this was just like, as much as this episode did find certain rhythms that were really going to be compelling about the show, that was one where they were just kind of, I think it was like, see what sticks to the wall.
Yes, I have a theory about that.
Yeah.
So, Rhonda is a Black character and played by Vanessa K. Williams. And I think that this is very emblematic of early attempts of primarily white writers' rooms, or probably exclusively white writers' rooms, to try to write for characters that were not the same race as them, not the same, gender identity, blah, a sexual orientation or what have you. And so what happens is they're scared to take big emotional choices, I think. And so we end up with this weird sort of halfway, like that's why I think that Matt and Rhonda have the storyline where we're like, oh, I don't feel like the stakes are there, because there's this thing of like, I feel like early attempts at diversity, it was like, oh, that means that every quote unquote diverse character has to be portrayed positively. They can't be a bad person.
And it's like, oh, you've robbed them the chance of being an interesting person.
Exactly. So I feel like there's,
So the best they can do with her is that she's snoops, she's man crazy, and now she's flighty.
yeah, they couldn't really pin her down. And again, the funny thing to me is like, one of my favorite scenes was the dance studio. It's so dynamic.
Yes.
It's so silly.
Yes.
And just imagining, again, I'm like,
But that is the whimsy, and this is something that occurred to me earlier, so I'm just seeing if it fits in. Like, by the time you get Amanda, by the time you get Heather Locklear,
yeah,
whimsy just really
you're so
almost
right.
can't be a thing.
No.
So that's why we get this. And like, by the way, this is a little spoiler specific thing. I might be just disappearing my own brain here, but in the future, and I'll bookmark it now, and we'll talk about it then. In the Amanda and Peter era, there is a moment, and at the time, Jack Wagner and Heather Locklear were an item, I believe.
Oh,
And there's just like one moment where they make little goofy faces at each other.
yes.
And it was everything.
I
And I wished for more of it, and it couldn't be, because I think there's something to the Amanda of it all, to that tone of like scheme wars. Like to think that you could start with, I took your idea and accelerate, or like, hey, look, we made art, but we're convincing ourselves that it's grift. That you would get to people who are just like, oh, you're blackmailing me? No, you're not, because I'm blackmailing you, because I already told that person. And guess what? You've been trumped. And then someone else will be like, oh, wow, yeah, you got me this time, Michael, probably. But let me tell you that in the future, I'm gonna have one on you, and so forth. Which is like such a fun dynamic. But here we're starting just kindergarten shit.
You are absolutely right, because I feel like Melrose Place is at its best when I feel like there's a specific episode I can think of, and it's during the Sydney era, the Sydney and Michael back and forth era, where when you're literally going from scene to scene with one character going, hey, I've got this on you, and the other one going, okay, and the other one turning around, and then you see how when you can see the shift go back and forth of it really becomes this chess game. And so you get to see them laying out, like you said, with that some weak ass painting scheme, but then foreshadowing.
Yes.
Sydney simply pretending to be a woman's manager and collecting money for her painting, never paying her, and that's her neighbor. Doesn't get away with it. Meanwhile, Jake thinks that he's really doing something. And I'm like, Sydney's like, hold my beer. You want to see some art fraud?
Briefly, because we'll just keep talking about it, because it's does me such joy.
It happens so fast.
Those are the moments where I really, really love Sydney. Is when she's so much at her worst, bulldozing people, like when Billy's paramour.
Is that her name?
No, Brooke is also Billy's paramour. This is the Maryland lady. This is the crab cakes.
I slept with Jeff Baylor. I can't believe I slept with Jeff Baylor. Oh my God.
That husky voiced bombshell is an artist in world. And in the future, Jane's sister Sydney will just claim to be her agent, successfully sell her art, and never give her the money. And like, then, literally,
by the way,
this woman comes to her asking for the money from her creation, her labor. And Sydney is just like, I don't have time for this right now.
I stole them. You can't do anything about it.
Yeah. Like, what are you gonna do?
Get out of here.
And then just back to something Michael. I don't know.
And then, by the way, this woman ends up killing Sydney. So all's fair in love and art and marriage, by the way.
Yes, she does. Well, I don't like that character, but that was her dad's fault.
By accident.
I think.
Not
okay,
even
you know what?
blood.
It actually, that was a situation where it was more like it's the Spider-Man of it all. It's Uncle Ben of it all. Where it's like it was.
I'm so sorry.
That she could. The Maryland girl could have stopped it by actually just letting her shitty dad get turned into the cops. But 100%. Instead, and that's another echoey thing with the terrible dads taking advantage of their own daughters.
Terrible grifter dads.
Amanda, Palmer Woodward is the fucking worst.
Allison's dad is another horrible person.
Yeah, it's
Jane's dad is great, actually. I feel that he's just like, my girls are wild.
White Shadow.
Yeah, can we talk about how?
Yes, he is.
He's the White Shadow.
He's delightful, and he's so tall, and it's so funny every time they randomly just have him like in the scene, because it's never really necessary that we see Jane's parents.
He becomes like an audience surrogate in a way, because it's like he pops into their world, and there's some fucking nonsense going on with one of his daughters. He's like, I really don't like this, but I guess I have to do what seems to be the right thing for my daughter at this time. And he's always like right. He's always right that it's like if they trusted someone they shouldn't have. Then like it's a little bit of that, like, I don't know.
Well, I like to think of Jane's parents' experience, because if you think about that, by the way, they always show up when it's time for a wedding, because you know how some parents don't, or sometimes they recast the parents, but like Jane's parents always show up. They come to, I think the first time they come to LA, something has happened to Sydney, or Sydney's acting out.
Yeah, there's a point where they have to commit her, but I don't know if that was the time.
Yeah, so the parents' experience with Melrose Place is Sydney gets committed, Jane's being cheated on, our daughters are fighting over the same man. Now Sydney married our other daughter's ex-husband.
This location brings nothing but suffering into this family.
Nothing but suffering. And
it's like a horror movie as far as they're concerned.
As far as they're concerned.
And Melrose Place is the villain.
Yes, because also the final time we see the parents in the series is at Jane and Michael's final wedding.
Oh my goodness.
Where in addition to the fact that like no one references the fact that their child is died at a wedding, everyone here should be immensely triggered
there should
at
be,
there
should be some
an Andrew's girl wedding.
This is a moment of mixed feelings.
These parents
to people
have been abused with these weddings. Their daughters have been married so many times to the same man. Do you know how many times
actually Michael Mancini is the fucking victim, not villain. It's not also he brings nothing but suffering to that family.
Yeah, and like I mean, they've literally had to endure the charade of Jane's first wedding to Michael, then Sydney's wedding to Michael.
Lest we never forget not that they would know, but she fucked somebody the night before. Jane cheated.
Oh yeah, Jane cheated. But
never forget Jane cheated.
But I'm coming from the perspective of what the parents have experienced.
I just wanted to wedge that in entirely. I'm sorry.
So Jane's wedding, then
Sydney.
to Michael. Sydney's wedding to Michael. Then Jane gets married to. Doesn't she marry Chris in Vegas? Or was she about to?
Chris. I think they stopped it. And then that turned into Michael marrying someone else.
Kimberly. So then there's so I don't think Jane gets married. Then Jane has to move. Oh no, she hasn't moved back home yet. Then Sydney is about to get married to Craig. They're there just in time to experience their daughter get murdered by accident. And then there's Jane's second wedding to Michael, where she storms up.
A goddamn debacle.
Like if I were them,
and in between,
I would never go to another wedding again.
And in between, the White Shadow had to commit Sydney. Like,
oh yeah,
it is all. Jane and bring her back to Chicago.
It's all.
She had to move back in with them, and then she ditched them, and then oh my god, that was So these parents, I mean, they have been
the only good parents on the show. Really get put through the effing ringer.
You're absolutely right.
And some of the worst ones, though, interestingly to me, are also like there's always a twist where it's like not their fault. Or,
yes.
You know what I mean? Like that's built into that kind of bad parent. Should we start calling Matt Doormat?
Oh my gosh.
Good. So Matt. I think maybe that's something we saw that maybe echoed forward is that Matt gets himself into these situations. I mean, later on, I think it's just tied to the discomfort with the limitations of what they could present as a gay man's life on screen at this moment in time.
100%, and also not having an understanding of just let him do stuff. Like he doesn't have to. Like who cares? Like him being gay won't affect it. If you just he could still be scheming. Like he still has a career. Like he's apparently climbing up that corporate ladder at
the social work. He's amassing power in the social work hierarchy.
But I also here's my preferred read on the Matt character instead of a doormat. In the spirit of embracing some petty passive aggression, every day that we see Matt take it when he shouldn't, not speak up, I like to imagine that his little burn book was just
never forget
bitches that night, because you know what?
The long entries about non-events, like
I would write that book, by the way. It would be such fun.
Coming soon to everywhere you can order books.
Can you imagine writing that though? Like literally just because all you have to do is go through the episodes and be like, if I were Matt, how would this hit me? She's like, oh, you know what? Today, Rhonda came over to me at that pool with an apology. And I was like, you call this an apology, but I'm going to get her because I am just... I just would love to imagine a much more vicious Matt just
but you're also addressing I'm gonna do a no but I think instead of a yes and so
go on
hate me but Matt oh shit guys we've got to go to commercial.
No worries.
It's time for a commercial break.
Matt ends up in numerous abusive relationships.
Oh, all the time.
Matt ends up in
gets framed for murder.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, 100%.
Yeah.
That's why. If I would like to, I know I can't change that. I want to give Matt a little bit of agency and self-expression. And in this book, imagine a world in which he can be vindicated in a revisionist history. That's what I hope for my Matt.
But but there is like, I think I'm gonna stay on topic this time, and I'm gonna get deep, which is just that like, that's the awkwardness of that retcon is that he isn't only documenting the comings and goings and the relative power ratings of what happened at Melrose Place. He was a confidant to every single person who came through the place.
Yes.
Where they were telling him shit that like, you know, hey look, I've never killed anybody. But if I did, you don't fucking tell people about it. And that is exactly, never forget Amanda's a goddamn murderer. Kind of twice over. Manslaughter, I don't know. In world, the guy deserved it. In reality, her best friend serves 15 years as
None
a
of
result.
that makes any sense.
It's a tangled web of stupid retcons because they didn't know what to do with season 7. Not to like, you know, whatever.
Yes.
This was a show that had a punishing schedule. I think they know the end was coming, and there was a little bit of like, well, what do we do? And we'll start putting really weird, snide episode titles and just mean-spirited shit. You know, it's so awkward. How are these? I mean, okay. And here's the deeper thing, and then I'll stop or get your response because this is a conversation, not a long one. For now. I think I disturbed the kid.
No, go on. What were you saying? So the deep part of
it is like, or if Matt is doormat, I think we're getting something, guys. You're gonna like this. If Matt is doormat, is he so non-threatening? His white underbelly is just like, so that people talk to him because like, what's he gonna do? Well, what's he gonna do is he's gonna keep a diary of it all, and after he dies, it's gonna like fuck people's shit up.
There you go. I love. Oh my God.
Did we get through it, guys, together? Say something better than all that.
Matt's revenge. I like what you're saying is I'm imagining a world in which we don't know that Matt's also been planting all these crazy traps in Melrose Place. And so years after the building has been abandoned, because Lexi let it go to shit, because lest we forget, that's who owned that building last. I believe. It's like I like to imagine
the last we see of Lexi, someone's remains on her.
Yeah.
I think so, but also, regardless, she still owns that building.
A bad choice. I'm sorry. I'm derailing.
Oh no, you're totally fine. But I imagine that I like to imagine a horror movie in which someone has to spend the night in a Melrose Place where Matt has like been in the walls. He's been leaving weird, like, and it's like if you can spend the night here, you can own the building. It's a crazy old Lexi who's like,
it's a codicil.
Of you go in.
It's a codicil in the will.
Yes.
That says anyone can have the title to Melrose Place if they spend a night.
It's called Matt/Lexi's Revenge.
I'm wanting to connect this to the time they hired. It was a very brief storyline that it kind of established and set up Amanda's like killer instinct for shitty men.
Yes.
The guy who drops in and he's the handyman and he's immediately porky'sing it, watching ladies take showers.
And she takes it to a very.
She took
serious,
it to 11, but
loved it. It was crazy.
What if some of this stuff? It wasn't tough for him to do that because there was already Matt's work he was building on, is what I'm saying. In that horror movie,
yes,
this guy has stumbled onto the work of this mastermind. It's just like, well, shit. If I can see through to this blonde woman's shower, I mean,
what else could possibly be here? I like a Matt inspired horror movie.
I don't know if there's anything to be done with this. I connected the little we see of Jane and Michael in this episode.
Oh God, yes.
They go for a run. They're out for a fun run. They're kind of being assholes on a like.
They're always kind of being assholes.
You said their get up is wild.
They look crazy. Oh yeah, they look like tourists at Disneyland, like running for the last monorail so they can get to the parking lot.
But then I say, to you, one day Michael will meet really his best wife, if you will.
Yeah.
St. Megan, Hal, running on the beach.
Yeah.
So it's romance, and I don't know. You kind of clocked that he doesn't actually run.
Not by
Like,
himself.
Not.
No. The only times I feel like we've ever seen him run was this time with Jane and what you called out, which was Megan on the beach. And I now have the theory that he only runs if it is in his interest so that he can get laid.
Yeah, yeah. It's kind, in a way, keeping the constant flow of women in and out of his life.
Yes.
And never being able to sell on one is his way of maintaining cardiovascular health. Theory.
His dating is his cardio.
If that's gonna be how it's gonna be,
I think you're
this
right.
is how we're gonna do it.
He does have very hot, energetic interactions, so you're right.
God, but well, Michael's not delightful yet, but he will be one day. I feel like we got through it. Anything else, Lisa? What haven't we talked about in terms of how this episode, For Love or Money, echoes forth into the future of the Melrose Place televisual universe?
You know, I think
Did we do it?
I think we did a good job of covering it all. I feel like we see, we all know D&D is going to. I mean, we're going to have such a special relationship with D&D. Allison's on the rise. Jake's getting that closer to that bike shop situation, which we all love so much.
There are long running vines that find their seeds in this
Kelly's
episode.
gone.
Oh.
Thank God. I think that's also why things clicked into place. We don't have any teenagers. It felt awkward because we were shifting between two worlds.
Jake out there
doing
fucking
things
immediately.
Yeah.
immediately. Oh my God.
Yeah,
Oh my
yeah.
God. He's like,
All of that horniness that he had for that child
wow.
ended up on a canvas, if you think about it.
I can't help but think about it now. Now that
Now-
producer
now
Ilana
that-
has pointed this
Now,
out.
that's what I call a fuck painting. Well, I'm just going to always be grateful that I get to co-host a show with you.
I
And
feel
this
the
is
same.
no exception to that. I'm going to be grateful for our producers, Chris and Ilana and Chris, and for our special guests, McLean and Conan, the cats, who have contributed. Hey, guys, thanks for listening. We don't do spoilers all the time, but when they do, we do. We'll let you know about it a lot. This has been a lot of fun, and I just want you to know that you should never forget.
And I was writing this all in his diary, guys.
He's writing all of it down, guys. Goodbye.
You're right. This is madness.